All right. Welcome to another episode of Objectively Aggressive, where it's, me, Kalvin, and I have the good doctor here. And we're going to get back into it. So first thing we're going to do is share.
People always asking. People always asking. All these damn people always people always ask. People always ask. All these damn questions. People always ask. All these damn questions. All these damn questions. People always ask. All these damn questions.
People always asking me all these damn questions, and they so confused. I don't know what to tell them. Why he do this? Why he do that? How you do this? How you do that? Hell yeah, I'm trying to do what I want, and I get good grades. That's why I wear these hats ways. These people recognize that's why they stay up in my face. Cause
people always ask. All these damn questions. People always ask. All these damn questions.
They wanna know my play-by-play. They wanna know just where I stay. They wanna know who the fuck is KJ. Yeah, it's me in the flesh. I'm not gonna say I'm the best, but your best bet is probably bump me in your deck. Cause I'ma murder this beat. Turn around and sell it like it's herb in the street. You want advice, you should be turning to me. Now you never hear me say that I'm a gangster, but I will do. Yeah, so hallelujah, hallelujah. My state like a trooper. I tell my interviewers, that's a promise, not a threat. What's your climate? Must have sent the next question that they asking me. I tell them lava, who you know how to. I hear the haters blasphemy. You keep bashing me, trashing me, ain't no cracking me. Cause all is asking, actually it ain't no tracking me. Now I'ma say this shit now, cause I know you can't relate. You trying to hop up on my dick before you know it's too late. That's why these people always asking all these damn questions. And they so confused, I don't know what to tell them. Why he do this, why he do that, how you do this, how you do that. Hell yeah, I'm trying to do what I want, and I get good grades. That's why I wear these hats ways. These people recognize that's why they stay up in my face.
People always ask all these damn questions.
They wanna know my blow by blow. They wanna know just how I roll like off-roads with 4x4s. Just the way it is, just the way it goes. One example where here it go. Man, I dropped a chick because I told. She said you ain't gon' fuck my feet. He can have you, cause show like me. Man, this chick must be crazy, trying to play me with pussy. Man, sometimes that's how it be. I'ma tell you like a nigga told me. You ain't gotta fuck everything you see, but you know I keep a couple freaks in my reserve. I'm not gonna call them a herd. I might just call them a pack. Matter of fact, I'ma call them leaders. They got their Vans on and they looking like sneakers. I be wearing J's, but I get much deeper. Listen to my words in this funk coming through your speaker. They telling me to speak up, cause I got a couple plans. You should already know that they say that I'm the man. When the shit come out my mouth, you know I'm cooler than the fan. Man, I'm doing what I gotta, plus I do what I can. So what you saying?
Production master.
Hey, so we got through the share part. People always asking me all these damn questions, and you know how we kick it off, man. Doc, how you doing? How you been?
Oh, man, great, man. How you doing?
Just ready to get this thing kicked off. I love doing this. It's almost therapeutic. You know what I mean? Like, it helps me get stuff off. I feel accomplished. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just, I love doing it, man. And with that, let's get into the sweet serenade. I want to talk moral foundations with you. And as we talk moral foundations, we're going to get into some specific things, but the sweet serenade to moral foundations. Why do people get triggered? And that's what moral foundations are. Why people trigger? It's like the nerve. And so specifically, as we break it down, and I'm gonna have a chart as we break it down, Doc. But as I point to you, I wanna dig into this thought of criminality and morality and how it could be culturally based, or it could be societal's failure
Yeah.
Won't you break some of that down as we talk about moral foundations?
Man, it's interesting because, we see a dichotomy of moral foundations in America, because one of the things, when slavery ended, we had to justify why we are going to treat Black people differently, because we couldn't use the same standard. So when a Black person commits a crime, it's considered a cultural issue. Culturally, we're just criminal. Whereas when a white person commits a crime, it's society failed him. Let's look at these dangerous video games. Let's not ask any questions about their parenting. Let's not make any insinuation that they were not raised upright. It's the culture. And see, that's the problem that I run into with my research, is because I understand these ideas were created to explain a phenomenon, meaning why do we see a different outcome? A great example would be the first census that we took in America after slavery was the 1890 census. And they looked at the percentage of people, of Black people who were in prison in 1890, right? Okay. And they used that data to say, wait a minute, why is 90% of the people in prison Black? Well, we have to look at the codes. The Black culture was still going on. And you could go to jail for something so dumb as not for loitering, and for trespassing. You could go to jail for something so silly. And then they use these statistics to criminalize us with more policing, over policing, and then painting a picture that our failings were because we were inferior, not because the culture had deemed that Black criminality was the quickest way that we could get more slaves.
Okay, so peep game. So let's just say that culturally things have now been set in motion for there to be a criminalistic look now, because you can look criminal, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so there are things that you can show. Like if we see a commercial, notice that commercials about home safety and stuff like that never show Black people breaking and entering.
Yep.
Peep game on that, right? And so that's fine. I get it. Cultural sensitivity, right? Why is that there enough to do that? You'll notice that, right? And so, but you'll notice what they'll put a white guy in, which is fine. But I walk around now with a particular vision that I can see certain. I hate the stereotype and generalize, but I can look at certain white guys and tell that they're into certain shit.
Yeah, and that's important. Yeah, but it's important because when we look at issues of crime, we have to look at the biggest single indicator of crime, and that's poverty. Poor people commit more crimes. Because we don't want to address issues of poverty and lack of education. The two biggest factors with criminals are poverty and lack of education. Now, let's look at the numbers, right? So if you look at the Irish, when they first came to America, the Irish were petty criminals. They were pickpockets. They did a lot of petty crimes.
Right.
And then you look at the Italians. They were the mafia, the mobsters. They did more felonies. And then what we found out happening is if you put people into population dense areas, they're going to be more crime as opposed to people who are in rural areas, because proximity to people who live close to each other are more likely to be criminal. So when they made our neighborhoods, they essentially made them, because we didn't pick our neighborhoods. We didn't pick the lines that were drawn. And so these factors, until we unpack them and look at the historical data, that what's going on in the Black community, primarily with crime, is not indicative of some inherent inferiority with us. It's because the system is producing what it was designed to produce.
Okay, so let me hit you with this. Confident opinion.
Confident.
No cap here. The suburbs have created thoughtless people. All right. And so the suburbs creates a myopia that your experience is not as diverse as you just expressed, right? So when you're in the city, like there are people who walk past all types of shit in the city, like it's nothing. Homelessness, drug addicts, all different types of stuff. And it don't matter the color, creed, whatever, right? But you get into these certain areas in these suburbs outside of the city, and you can honestly say you don't want your kids seeing that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want my kids seeing that stuff. Good reason. Gotcha. Take them out of that, right? Yeah. But you never, hey, a kid actually might need to see that. I'm not saying that they need to be that close to it, but there's a realness that comes along with, hey, if you don't keep your shit together, that's where you might be, partner. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but I use that as an example of how we look at stuff that we want to take our kids away, and that makes sense. It makes sense because that's a moral foundation. Ooh, did I set it up properly?
But so when you start talking about morality, I think that we start to look at the motivators for morality.
Okay.
And essentially, morality without society is irrelevant. Because you're only moral insofar as what does the society agree with that is morality. In Western civilizations, this where people look at the Bible for morality or for the teachings. Right. But when we start to get into this idea of morality, I think it starts off with this idea that morality can change if power needs to.
Okay.
Because I think that morality that we've created is this subjective morality where it's situational at best. You know, I'm looking through the essentially the Maslow's hierarchy of need to morality. That a poor person may not say I'm going to steal, but if my kid needs some food, then I might be a criminal.
Ooh.
You know, and so that part of our existence, the idea of the rebel, the personality or characteristics types like to your chart. You know, it's always comes down to competing priorities.
Right. And so so I brought the chart up as a demonstrative, right? To show like moral foundations, which was created by Dr. Jonathan Haidt. And spoiler alert, that's one of my book tips. We'll use it for that. The Righteous Mind. Ooh. And so he breaks down these every religion, every different society was, you know, litmus tested. These are the 6 things that generally come out of all of them.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got care and harm, and you see the description there, making us sensitive to suffering, fairness and cheating, right? Punishing the free riders, loyalty and betrayal, authority, subversion, liberty, sanctity. All these things are there. And in the book, it actually does kind of break down how liberals are only 3.
Yeah.
Which is care and harm, fairness and cheating, and liberty and oppression. Yeah. That's the message of the liberal side, extreme liberal, right? And then the extreme right, conservative, they have all 6. Therefore, having a better moral statement and campaign. They hit all 6, right? So they could talk about harm and care as far as like abortion, right? And so knowing that these all 6 exist in every single person, in every single society, right? It's important to know this. And so my leadership theory is developed to be able to hone in on this to help people make better decisions, because at the end of the day, regardless of the individual, there is some sort of moral fabric. Even if they're a psychopath, there's still a code somewhere.
Oh, and I think you bring up a good point, because when you start talking about how the brain plays in the morality as far as in prioritizing what, and I think that's the problem that we've run into, is that anytime you come across a binary choice, left, right, care, harm, fairness, cheating, you have to do what the Egyptians did with morality. You form a pyramid.
Okay.
anytime you offer me left, right, I have to go higher.
Okay.
And the idea of going higher is not possible in a binary construct, because I don't think that you have to isolate these ideas without a foundation of power first. Because I will tell you this, the conservative who looks to authority, they don't care about the issue if they're going to lose power. You see this thing going on with Herschel Walker right now with the abortion, and the people like, look, I don't care how many abortions that dude had. We need to get this Senate seat. See, and so power forms the foundation for the higher. Because if I can go ahead.
Here's what I'm hearing from you, Doc, real quick. Power circumvents morality for people.
Well, no, power is the utility to get your moral virtue established. So the idea is, if I think that you should be living a certain way, I think you should be doing a certain thing. I think you shouldn't be able to do fill in blank, but I don't have the power to enforce my will upon you without conflict. And if I'm in a binary, we're going to go back and forth. However, if I go above you, we're in the Air Force. If I can go above you, and I can now sit as a judge from an authority, because how do you become an authority? When people agree with what you say, you get power, politically power, you get influential power, you get coercive power. So now I can take what I desire that you do, I can take that desire and now penalize you and punish you for not doing my will.
That's important though. And you mentioned morality in the power structure, right? Yes. So when we're speaking about morality, we're speaking about morality in the general sense of authenticity of person.
Okay.
And so when you put an individual inside a power structure, this is an institution. And so this institution is going to have ethics. And so that's where the stark difference becomes, oh, sheesh, check that out. What's the difference between?
But so if we start with this idea that power utility and morality comes second, then what you would see is people are tribal by nature.
Yeah.
So we want to fit in with people who share our viewpoints on what is ethically and moral. So but some, and primarily on the left, or for that binary, want to, without having to coerce you to do what they don't want you to do. So you might be opposed to somebody changing their gender morality. You may say it's against your religious moral view, and somebody who doesn't share your religious moral view may want to do that. But you, through your power and your tribe, may vote to deprive somebody of what they want to do. And so what I think is that if you get into that idea, then power becomes the necessity for your will. Because I believe that without the power of will, you're not going to essentially establish any moral foundations in any cultural society that values itself on being moralistic.
And I totally agree with you, Doc. And my addition to that perspective is that that's the difference between morals and ethics.
Yeah. Oh, yes. True. Yeah.
Right. And so the morality of the authentic person individually steps into the power structure and then is influenced by the ethics of.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what happens in the Air Force. Right. And we see it. You're the first enlistment. You're trying to get adjusted. Right. By year 10, you're a company man. And by the time you get to where we are, it's like it is time to go. Right. And that is the matriculation of a person's morality through a power structure that has ethics that we can name right now.
But
integrity first, service before self, excellence on all we do. But what does that mean?
Because
those things are supposed to touch the moral fabric. Go ahead.
Well, but now we have to intersect those ideas.
Right. That's why they intersect.
But now we got to get into philosophy.
Correct.
Because what's more important, ethics or truth?
Truth.
Okay,
Truth.
So if truth becomes more important than ethics, then establishing that truth needs what? Power. Because the truth, we've gotten to this idea where what is your truth? What's their truth? Or what is the truth? What is the truth? And so when you start to talk about truth in the sense of ethical value, then I would argue that what we have found out is that the truth can be, and we've seen this in primarily in politics, what we've seen is if the truth has no utility, we can dispense with it. So for example, like the election is a perfect example, right? Okay. Some people think Trump won because there was cheating. Right. But then when you ask them to show you the cheating, they can't show you none. Right. There's no courts have agreed. There's nothing. So the idea is their truth now is being conformed to what they want to believe.
So Doc, that's the difference between a fact and the truth, because facts can be true, but not all truth is fact.
Okay.
Right. And so that's the problem with mental model myopia. That's the problem where morality and ethics start, when I say morals and ethics start blending into where confirmation bias and anchoring bias and the practice of logical fallacies and you know what I mean, just confirmation biases in itself create a mental model myopia that at the end of the day, your morality is everything that benefits you and nothing else.
Yeah, and we don't have a third party arbiter who looks at our situation that can say what is empirically true, because empirical data is what we can observe. And I can't make you open your eyes. Like if you choose to go outside and close your eyes and say that the sun ain't in the sky, I can't come before you and force your eyelids open so you can see the truth. And so it's comforting sometimes to not want to observe things that are uncomfortable to us. So when it comes to morality, I believe that what we've essentially done is we've created a model that when I think I know what's best for me, I want it replicated for others.
Right.
And so I need a structure that I can now enforce my will or the social contract. So when you're in a society, you say, I am going to do what the society demands of me if I want to be a good citizen.
Well, so and that gets captured in what we're going to talk about next time, is moral stages of development.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be your cultural relativism.
Yes.
That's going to be your stage 5, where we talk about utilitarianism as a whole, not the specifics that people like to point to. And then we talk about stage 6 altruism, which is being like Gandhi, Jesus, like blah, 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 blah. But I think it's important to know the differences between this, because all of these different moral foundations are important to know, because if you have a boss, you're in an institution and you're working with people, you're literally not walking on eggshells, but at some point in time, when you get to a place that you don't know, you're walking around on eggshells because you don't want to violate all these moral foundations with people inside the institution. But so understanding that there are some people, the good old boy system, that's loyalty, right?
Yeah.
Understanding the difference between authority and resources, but understanding that people who lean heavy on authority, they do it when it benefits them, but also there's a fairness and cheating aspect that comes in it. But I'll tell you this, the care and harm and the fairness and cheating aspect are the salt of the moral foundation, which they call moral taste buds. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything comes down to harm and care and fairness and cheating. And so that's why God set it up, you know what I mean? But the universe, whatever people are claiming. The name of my leadership theory is squared away leadership theory, squared away light theory, squared away life theory, SALT.
Yeah.
Because SALT is used to touch the moral foundation.
Yeah, but I think that we're seeing something that's very interesting. Is we are seeing paradigm shift when it comes to morality in our country. Okay. Because I think that I have to, in order for my tribe to be successful, I have to be able to differentiate why it's okay for my person to cheat, but not your person. So Hillary could have some classified documents and she'd go to jail.
Right.
Trump could have some classified documents, but he's a patriot. You see what I mean? Right. So the justification of the morality becomes tribalistic. And so the idea is that if your foundation is singular, meaning I am a principled individual, I stand on the foundation that does not shift. So I can say, put them both in jail.
Oh, yeah. They both need to go.
They both can go. But because I am not so caught up in the tribe that I want to be partisan to fact. And right. and there comes, I think, the challenge when it comes to moral foundations is because most of our foundations were not built by us. We didn't build the moral foundation. We are accepting a foundation as opposed to coming to the idea where I don't think that I will do harm to somebody. However, it's harm, and this is where I think we've developed systems where if you are unsuccessful in America, it's because you didn't try hard enough. It's because you didn't work hard enough. It's because you did not do what you needed to do, because the system was designed for you to be successful. So I'll challenge that narrative. I'll challenge that narrative that capitalism needs poverty. That everybody can't be a billionaire by design. You have to have a higher strata, a hierarchical structure. It's a pyramid. There can only be so many people at the top. Now, if I take the pyramid and invert the pyramid, now what you'll find out happening is that the people at the bottom of the pyramid are usually the ones that didn't know how to get to the top. Because you can get to a pyramid two ways. You can get to the top of a pyramid by competence. If you are more competent, you can climb over people. Or you can get through there by power and dominance. But however you get there has to keep you there. Yeah. So I can't get to the top with power and dominance and then become competent.
Right.
And I think that's what we're seeing today, is that the majority of the people at the bottom of the pyramid, they were not born with resources. They were not born with access. And so now we had to create theory to explain why they are there without destroying our meritocracy.
Meritocracy.
Because you only get in America where you get because of merit, because of what you earn. That's what we tell each other. But that can only be effective if the people at the bottom are lazy, are not motivated, fill in blank. You know the adjectives. And I think that is what we don't grapple with because we have to develop models to explain it away without challenging our own core beliefs.
I heard something, man. I don't remember who I heard it from. You, a friend, said a wealthy guy, rich guy was talking, and he was like, yeah, man, find a lazy person to do your work, because they always going to cut corners and find easier and quick ways to do things, right? And so you're gonna have the mentality of those people, because hey, listen, I ain't gonna even speculate on that. I will say, living in this particular society that there are extremes of resources, can create a split in thought culturally on what actually is right and wrong morally. Right? You know what I mean?
But does might make right?
Oh, no, 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 no. And that's where the righteous mind comes in, because at the end of the day, the moral foundations give you a chance to understand that when somebody's going off about something, you can be like, hold up, this person is very high on this particular foundation right now. Yeah. Then you have to ask yourself why, because if it's about authority, authority only goes as far as resource.
Well, but why are we the only animals that pay to live on the earth? Out of all of our intellect, all our intelligence, we are the only people who pay to reside on the planet. We could have created anything, but we made money. So we could determine or distinguish those who have and have not. Because what I find out is that power likes to consolidate. It consolidates because power does not want to be challenged. So if I say, I don't want to climb your pyramid, I want to build my own pyramid.
Right.
So what is the people with power going to do to stop me from building my own pyramid?
They're going to do everything they can to stop.
Exactly. And therein is the challenge of the left versus the right. Because the right, it's like, hey, we like the pyramid. We because nobody who climbs a ladder is going to complain about the ladder when they get to the top.
Hey, and we can, that's how I have a cognitive dissonance now of being able to tell somebody about serving in the military.
Well, you know what?
Because it's to be stated. It's to be stated, right? And so let's segue into the money tip as we talk about this, right?
Yeah.
The money tip ain't always just about money. It's about understanding money as the tool, right?
Yeah.
And so money being a tool, sometimes you have to do things for the tool that you might not necessarily want to do every day, day in and day out, but you want to make sure you find something that you love to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so understanding that work is necessary for the sane mind. Struggle is necessary for a good life, because to understand the good life, you must understand the struggles and learn from them. Yeah. Right. And so I would say, for a money tip, like you were talking about, it's just understanding that, like, even serving in the military, I can get out and I have my, points of contention. But I made the choice to join. I had times where I could have bailed, but I stayed in for the benefit of.
Yeah.
And I received a lot of training and education on the way to where I can't complain about student loans the way people do, because I got them paid a certain way. And so money is a tool that is actually being made to be a goal for a lot of people. Talk to the money, whatever. But my tip for people is to understand that money is a tool and not the goal. And to find out who you are, you need to know that there's a purpose for you, and it ain't just to make money.
Yeah. And then it is a tool for the purpose of exchange. It is a means of exchange. That's all it is. It's an in between product and service and how we will conversate. Because when gold and silver was the means of exchange, it was easier as opposed to the printing press. Because if you can print money as a tool, now I can now coerce you with my printing press. But what we realize is, if I'm exchanging my time for money, then my time is just as important as the money. Because I don't get those back. Because I don't get those back.
You can't.
And so my money tip would be, I think that we have to expand the paradigm into other systems and ideas. Economics is very contentious because our system, and for all it is, I'll go to my book tip.
Oh, book tip.
My book tip with my money tip. The Have Never Told: Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism.
That's one of my grandma's favorite sayings. My dad said all the time, the half ain't been told.
Yeah, and so when you start, you cannot understand American capitalism without understanding the slave system, because we were once the capital. The people, right. we were, and so I tell people that because everything that we're doing today economically was done to us then. So understanding that now can give you insights into what is next.
Under that in itself, just understanding that we were property, we were looked at differently, and that is still, there's still residue of that. So
residue. Money never goes away. It never goes away. All it does is, that's why it's called old money.
Old money. Ooh.
Old money. Like, for example, like what they'll see is this, is that the capital in this country at one time, the enslaved people in this country were worth more than all the other assets in the country combined, with the exception of the land.
Correct.
Georgetown University was saved because they sold slaves because they were going bankrupt. Most of these colleges and universities were tied into it. And I think that when you start to look at our system, not the idea that we were property, it's the thinking that supported the ideology. Which is what I don't think we've ever unpacked. Because yes, you can get money now, you can change it, but now you become the outlier. Now you are the success story. You are the crab that got out of the barrel. And I think that
you talking about the black excellence.
That's what I mean. And that is what we don't really address here. Because if a black person is successful in America, not only did they work their ass off, not only did they endure struggle, hardship, and all kind of stereotypes, they ultimately had to become something. And usually what it becomes is somebody who has to believe in ideology that what happened to me can happen to everybody else. So now I can become a spokesman to the less fortunate.
Yeah.
Because
you can do this.
And don't get me wrong, there are those who can.
Yeah, for sure.
But the vast majority won't.
And but that's good. That's good selling, though. That's good selling. Yeah. And that's the American dream.
It's soft power.
That soft power, but that's American power. That's the American dream. That's meritocracy. That's meritocracy.
Meritocracy. There it is.
That's meritocracy. But you know what? It is an American dream, because you know what, people? A nightmare is still a dream. And with that, The Righteous Mind is my book, talking about what we were just talking about with the moral foundations.
Yep.
I think it's important that people know that. And I say it's important because shit, I put it in my leadership theory. There's so many levels to this shit, levels and devils, but I got different levels that get all the way to the moral foundation. And so part of my leadership theory has this graduate level component to it, as far as understanding what the moral foundation is and being able to touch people's soul. Because I touch people's soul because I know what their moral foundations are.
Oh yeah, and even so I've always been the type of person that will look at the premise first and the argument second. I'll spend more time on your premise than the argument.
Right.
Because I'll ask this person a question. I said, what makes this person good? What makes them good?
Right.
And insofar as if they are good, to what end? Because you could be a good white supremacist.
Oh, good Lord. Good is subjective.
No, good is subjective. And I say good is subjective because it goes back to the so I'm, you know, I have debates with myself about ideology because I don't want to be pigeonholed into one thought process if there's a better one.
Well, that's the ability of having fluid mind though, and free will and competence.
But I ask myself a question and I say, what is more important than power? Like what is more important in power?
What kind of power?
Any kind, like coercive power, influencer power, manipulative power, in the idea of the ability to control and the ability to change and to have an effect. So power is the ability to exert force. And I say power because when I look at power throughout all histories, throughout all civilizations, what I find out is that if you don't have power, you're going to find yourself at the mercy of someone with it.
Oh yeah, no. That's why they say if you don't have any direction, you know what I mean, somebody will point you the way that you need to go. But hey, so Doc, look, I want to do this because I want power to be our next topic. And we're going to talk about the difference between authentic power and external power, right? And so with that, I want to leave that little tidbit and hanger because I know you're ready to go in. And guess what? We got a book. I don't know if we talked about the book, but that'll give us a chance to talk about the seed of the soul and what you done read and all that. Because that talking about the authentic power versus external power, which I like to use 48 Laws of Power as the example. So that's another book.
Rob Green, huh?
Hey, we'll talk about, we'll get all into that because that's what this is about. Objectively aggressive presents the Lighthouse series where we get aggressive about everything, no pressure, just perspective, all aggressive. All right, Doc. Hey, stay on the line with me so we can do our little feedback. But we're gonna say out here to the universe. Peace out. Stay up.